Hello, this is Dr. Janice Chrzanowski, and this is this week's A Dose from Dr. Janice, where I hope to teach, show, and inspire you how to release your God-given health and life potential. If you like these messages, please do share them with others and like my page, A Dose from Dr. Janice. So it was an awesome week up here in the Northeast where I live, which is about 10 miles away from where the Philadelphia Eagles play. And our town and city and millions of people in the suburbs are still on a high from the week. It was just absolutely spectacular. So the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, having never had won the Super Bowl. There were so many highlights that I enjoyed watching, and I really did enjoy watching the parade. I was off on Thursday morning, so I was able to catch a few hours of it on television, and watching Jason Kelce, if I'm saying his last name right, Kelce, talk from the steps of the art museum very passionately, dropping some F-bombs, which was hysterical. Probably the highlight for me was there was a sportscaster by the name of Harold Kuntz, and there was a video going around on Facebook, but he was in Oklahoma City, and he's a sportscaster down there, hadn't realized that the Philadelphia Eagles had won. He is a lifelong Philadelphia Eagles fan and was born and raised in Philadelphia, and when he announced that they had won, he was just reading and didn't realize they had won. He literally started crying on live television, and I watched that probably about 20 times because there was so much joy in his expression and in his voice. It was very awesome and infectious, if you will. So each week when I record these messages, I try to think of something related to that week, whether it happened to me or it happened to the world. So certainly the winning of the Super Bowl is huge. It's huge here in the United States of America. And I wanted to relate three things from the Super Bowl, the Eagles win, that relate to us and to our life. And for me as a Christian, to my belief in Jesus Christ. So the first thing is that the Philadelphia Eagles were mocked. They've always been mocked. We're mocked for the fans that can be very loud and obnoxious at times, for sure, very passionate fans. We were mocked by many players going out during the season, certainly losing Carson Wentz in December to an ACL injury. Nobody, including the Eagles' own fans, thought that Nick Foles could come through and win the Super Bowl. And people are going to mock you, for sure. A quote of mine that I frequently say from Eleanor Roosevelt is that nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. Nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. So the truth is that people are going to try to make you feel inferior. People are going to mock you. And the question is, what are you going to do with it? While I was on vacation, I was reading a book, and I still am, and it was written by Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, probably the #1 positive psychology, positive motivational book of all time. And back in 1938, he wrote a book called Outwitting the Devil. It didn't get published to 2011 because his family was afraid that he would be mocked after publishing that book. So as I was reading it in the first few chapters, he said something very interesting. And essentially he says that fear is from the devil and love is from God. And he says that there are essentially 6 main fears. I'm not sure if I'm going to remember them all, but it's fear of poverty, fear of poor health, fear of loss of love, fear of loss of life, fear of aging, and there you go, I did remember them all, but the one I wanted to share with you is fear of criticism. Wow, the devil works on us with that. We really care what other people think of us, and that can hold us back. Well, it did not hold the Philadelphia Eagles back, even if their own fans, including me, did not think that they were going to be able to win the Super Bowl. They did not, and they would not be mocked. Paul, who wrote well over 50% of the New Testament, said that if he wanted to be popular with men, he would not be a disciple of Jesus Christ. So recognize that not everybody is always going to be in your court, and that's okay. The second thing I want to share with you is that the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl because they knew that God lived within them. Of course, listening to some of these men's testimonies on how they came into their faith, for me has just been absolutely glorious to watch that, to watch Doug Peterson and Nick Foles and several of the key players profess their faith immediately after winning the Super Bowl and giving all glory to God. I just think that is just the coolest thing, and perhaps it's something that our world and our country needs, is to humble ourselves and know that greater is in me than it is in the world. That's from 1 John chapter 4. But if you know that there's a power that lives in you that's greater than you, then you need to tap into that. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles did. If you watch some of these highlight reels, there's just no way that these men were able to accomplish what they did if they didn't have a firm belief and act on that belief that God lived in them and that they could use that power. So that's really, really important to know, that in order to live a good life, it doesn't necessarily mean it's an easy life, one free of pain or grief, but in order to live a good and godly life, we must know and acknowledge that God lives in us. And that is the coolest thing. And even after a Super Bowl win and we're coming on a rainy Sunday where there's no more football to watch, just knowing that God living in you is awesome, and it's a reason to be joyful. And the third thing that I want to share with you is for sure that these Philadelphia Eagles had a stronger faith than fear. They had a stronger faith than fear. We can fear so many things. Guys, all you got to do is turn on the news, even watch social media, listen to your coworkers, friends, families. We are just filled with fear, and you must not let fear overcome faith. You must live in a world of faith, and the Eagles did. They believed that they were going to win the Super Bowl. I mean, think of all the things that they overcame, and that is why they were so passionate about their win. So your faith has to be strong. You have to work on that faith. I wake up early every morning. I study the Bible. I read. I journal. I shut off the news. I surround myself with positive people. I try to go to church every Sunday. I try to live a life built on faith, and God speaks to me, and the deeper I put my roots down into that faith, the better that my life is, the better that my life is. So faith is stronger than fear. So those are the three things that I think the Eagles teach us, I think the Super Bowl win teaches us, and I think that if we live that way, our life will be better. Number one, you're going to be mocked, so just deal with it, and don't let it defeat you. Overcome that. Number two, that you must believe that God lives in you. And number three, that your faith must be stronger than your fear. I want to conclude with this. The word Philadelphia, Philos, and Adelphia means love and brotherly. So I live near the city of brotherly love. I do not believe that is a small coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. The word coincidence simply means that it's God's way of remaining anonymous. And I believe that our world needs more love. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. And so love starts with us. It starts in our hearts. It's infectious. It's contagious. And we must radiate it out from our center being. And you're responsible for that. So love yourself. Love your neighbor. It is the greatest commandment. When Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment? He said to love the Lord with all your heart, mind, and soul, and to love your neighbor as you do yourself. It's all about love. That's what God is. The devil comes from fear. Your faith has to be stronger. That love will always win. And I am one who was extremely excited that the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. Peace out. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday.